Trigger warning: mentions of self-harm, abuse, and suicide.
Hello, my name is Sakib, and welcome to the What's Wrong podcast. Today I was thinking that we could talk about mental health during the pandemic. Nihal, let's start with you. Could you explain how your own personal mental health was affected during the COVID pandemic?
See, if we talk about mental health, I think it's an issue that very less talked about in our country. Doesn't matter whether it was before the pandemic or after the pandemic. And I think since the pandemic started, it began to increase like exponentially, like huge number of increase. First of all, see, the thing is, like when the pandemic started, most of us were new to the situation. Like not most, like actually everyone was new to the situation, and you're just stuck in your home, no one to talk to, and at those points, those are the points when you're alone, no one to talk to, you can't meet your friends. That's the time when it hits you the most.
When you're isolated.
Exactly, yeah. So it has been seen the most number of deaths during the COVID. People who died of COVID happened actually because their mental health was not in right condition. Because for your immunity to work, or the medicines, or your immune system to work, function properly, you need to have a very stable mental health, which was not there.
So you're saying that there's a connection between mental health and physical health?
Yeah, obviously. For example, if we just, if you're not mentally fine, you won't like doing anything. When you're mentally not strong enough or stable, you lose your sleep, you lose your appetite, you lose the urge to talk to anyone. You like being alone, be with yourself. That's what pulls the person, and they get stuck with it themselves, and that's how they don't get talk and
take care of themselves.
Yeah. What? Sorry.
Take care of themselves.
I won't say take care. I think they feel we are better off alone, which is not true. In conditions like this, people should, usually talk to their friends. For example, when COVID started, there was a time when I cut off connection with most of you. Tanzim knows this very well.
Yeah, it's true.
Nowhere. Was basically gone.
I hadn't heard from him. Like he disappeared.
I legit thought you were dead.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. That's the thing. Because at that point, it is so bad. I had nights when I couldn't sleep, and I cried like I would say a baby, or even worse. I don't know. Because there's the thing. I felt it like I can't see my friends. Like Basha, if a friend lives, they just like neighborhood. I can't see him. No one. It was like just breaking me the fact.
So it's like you're a very social person in general. So it's like you couldn't transition into like this new reality where you couldn't meet people face to face.
Exactly. And also the thing was when the pandemic started, we had our A levels as well. AS.
Yeah, which is the first year of A levels.
Exactly. So there was the pressure of the studies, first of all. The second pressure was they completely new different style of studying. Online classes.
Yeah.
And mocks were the mocks were actually mocks. We were just mocking the teachers in those because we were talking about
Yeah, go on.
So exactly. So you have that thing that I'm studying but I'm not getting any outcome, no results. That's what hits you. Even this, I don't know if it's whether or not the pressure from parents, that's a very big issue. What are you doing? You're just lying on your bed the whole day. Because, bro, we don't have anything else to do.
Yeah, that's so true.
Raise your hands if your sleep schedule got fucked during COVID.
Who's then?
I know Rafael is raising his hand too. He's not,
I mean, he was up all night. He was up bothering me all night.
Like all of us are staying until like 4 a.m. minimum at best.
But the thing is, since this pandemic started, it fucked up everyone in one way or the other. And most importantly, in the mental health. If we look at the records, the number of suicides have increased rapidly.
Increased considerably.
It's huge in numbers. It's like huge. For example, according to this report of this, I don't know, the newspaper name is not given. In between March 22 and 2021, in 1 year transition, around 45 reports were reported, and out of that, 22.2 of suicides. Among that, 22.4% said their suicide was due to financial crisis. unemployment and loneliness. And loneliness comes because of the lockdown. And 24.89% said they died due to family issues, disharmony, harassment, sexual violence.
Wait, this actually reminds me, like in the last episode about domestic abuse, we were talking about how it increased during the pandemic.
Remember, I gave you the stat about how it increased.
Yeah.
That's good too. Yeah, and because of all of these, like especially with all of these issues increasing, it really fucks with our mental health. Unemployment, domestic abuse, then for us students, the pressure of studies, it's it's a wreck.
And also the uncertainty over the virus, because we actually didn't know whether we would be alive, like whether we would be safe.
Like the media flabbergasted it in such a way that everyone thought that if you got it,
You were there.
might as well just dig your own grave at that point.
It was the truth.
It was
Like the death rate was really, really high.
And also it's like we were also concerned about like the health facilities, because the hospitals were filled with COVID patients, and
But
thinking,
one thing I'm gonna say is our doctors actually did quite well about this thing.
yeah, they were heroic and they were hardworking.
The doctors are the ones who like saved the day in the end.
Yeah.
And
Exactly.
I've seen many videos, many images, and many news articles of doctors working 30-hour, 48-hour shifts, for 3 days, weeks straight, even.
Bro,
Without sleep, without
let me
rest.
just give you this insight. For example, my uncle is a doctor, but he wasn't in the COVID sector, like he didn't get the duty. Other than that, for example, in Dhaka Medical and many hospitals with the doctors did, they put on speakers, they turned on songs, and they danced for the patients so that they can ensure their mental health, so the mental state was okay. They just try to give them entertainment and make them happy. And also it helped the doctor. So see, one way or the other, mental health was a concern even in the hospital, because out of nowhere you just can't dance in the hospital, right? But they were doing it so the patients feel comfortable. They feel entertained, they feel moralized. And even in this time, the psychiatrists, even they got duties in the COVID sector so that they could motivate the patients and their colleagues.
Actually, something off topic, but there's a thing that if you go to the emergency section and just say that I feel like I will hurt myself, they will detain you there until or unless the psychologist comes to you and then he evaluates you for a bit.
Yeah, that's standard in most countries.
That's standard. And that's what happened basically here. But not for just one or two people, for everyone in the ward. So that everyone can stay calm.
Bro, as, in Bangladesh, I think I mentioned it, I don't know. As I said, the last time the mental health issues were revised or it was brought up was in 2006. And
in 2006, which was like 15 years ago.
To be precise, yeah. And during a survey was found out, like out of 100%, if we spend 100% on other health expenses, for example, heart, kidneys, or any other, if 100% is spent on mental health, only 0.4% is spent.
So like you're saying that the entire medical expenditure, only 0.4% is on mental health.
Yeah, because it's not considered to be important.
And to make my stat even more, it was published by WHO, World Health Organization. They published this report that only 0.4% is spent on mental health.
That's way too low.
Can I also add another statistic? A very wild stat.
Go on.
A number of South Asian languages do not have a word for depression.
I mean, does Bangla have a word for depression? I mean,
we might.
we use the word depression.
I mean, we
depressed.
It means Vishanota.
Okay.
And no one uses that word.
No,
I know. There's a reason for that, because a lot of people think of like depression, anxiety of like adult things, like midlife crisis, shit like that.
No, that's not true. That's not the truth. In our
that's
country,
not the truth.
Happens.
I mean, it has some truth to it.
Like in our area, I'm not talking about the whole world.
Like what he's trying to say is that, like, let's say if we tell our parents that we are depressed, that we have anxiety, they'll be like, why are you depressed? You're still a kid. You have no stress.
You don't have anything to worry about.
The expression what they if you're like, go to them and say, Mom, I'm depressed. Mom, I'm anxious. I need help. I need help.
Yeah, and this is so true.
That's the first dialogue you're gonna get.
Yeah,
And
they
the first
think
one is
that.
like, you're gonna flunk in studies. That's all.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I want
How the
to
fuck does studies apply for this?
And the second excuse they're gonna give is, you're a young Chad. Fucking
Yeah. Yeah.
young.
What?
What is
Your
it?
life is perfect. I provide everything for you.
Exactly.
Why are you
That's
depressed?
the major thing. They guilty blame you.
Yeah.
Guilt trip you, yeah.
And
Like,
Yeah.
they guilt trip you for this.
Bro,
I'm like,
let me just
what the
tell you,
fuck?
there was
They
this
ignore the symptoms and later on blame you because they ignored the symptoms.
exactly.
Yeah.
So you know what happened in
That is what they do.
2019
I'm not
or
blaming
18, I
the parents.
forgot. Either in 2018 or 19, a report was published where this 7-year-old kid had depression, and that was severe depression, who was suicidal.
I mean, it is actually common amongst victims of childhood abuse to have like depression from a really early age and to have suicidal thoughts, and it could also be like genetic a lot of the time.
I want to share just an experience of my own. I think my dad, my own father, saw me crying one day. I don't remember why. It was a few months back. And a few hours later, I remember him telling me, hey, I saw you crying. Tomar kisher obhav? Kandeso ke? Tomar obhav kisher?
Wait, so he guilty tripped you and was all like, why are you crying? I give you everything.
He's like,
He's like, what?
he's like guilt trip.
Like, he's like, why are you crying? You have everything. I'm like,
I would like to add something to you, something. I would like to add something to what you said.
Like, where?
Okay, Rafa is trying to say something.
Our parents have gone through worse times than us. For them,
Which is true.
walking to school under the scorched sun was depression. But they think that as we go to the school or college or university by car or in a somewhat better situation than them, or we're in a better situation than them, they think that
Considerably better situation,
we're
to be
not
honest.
supposed to be depressed. For them, this is not a reason for depression, but they fail to understand that it's in here and it doesn't matter whether you're doing good or not,
it's
whether you're financially well or not.
It's like whether I'm, even if I'm filthy rich, that doesn't mean I'm not going to be, that doesn't mean I'm going to be happy 24/7. There's still problems. I still have problems.
Yeah, it's unfortunate that our parents think it's monetary, that we have everything, so we should be happy.
The thing
That's it.
is, the belief they have is if they give you the food, whatever you want, that's what does it. No, there are issues that even if we want to talk about, we can't. But you know that thing, Jay, Chaileo Pine in Bangla, we say that we want to, but we are unable to share. That's the thing. And one thing I'm gonna add to it, say it. I don't know if it's off topic or not. That friends, these bastards are the best support we can get.
Yeah, that is true.
Hey, are you
One
attacking
of the
us?
best things that anyone should have.
But because of friends are the best thing we could have, and they were the biggest support because they know you, because they go through the same situation. Like there were times when Tanzim and I we started a conversation, and we didn't even realize that how deep it went.
Yeah, it's just, if you have friends, if you have people who are really by your side, that helps you a lot. It helps
Exactly.
you to open up.
Okay, so Navid, Kashyap, you're trying to say something.
Yeah,
And
so
I found
as what Nihal said, like, friends are needed. Myself, I would gladly say that 2020 was not my best year. It was none of
It
us.
wasn't anyone's.
Anyone's.
Let's be
It wasn't
honest.
anyone's
It
at
wasn't
any point of
anyone's.
I was going through absolute shit at the time, and basically was kind of my lowest point.
Same.
So
Same.
that's the same time I met my girlfriend, and I'm not gonna lie, she helped me a lot to go through with this.
Yeah.
A really lot. Like, I
Me
still
too.
thank her to this day that she was there for me. Or
Mine
else I would have
fucked my mental health up.
ended myself off by that time. I was already that bad in it.
Yeah, and I want to share my personal experience.
Mm-hmm.
At the start of, right after lockdown was announced, in March 2020, my dad, we all decided, my mom, my dad, and I, we decided to go to my village, my Desherbari as we call it. This is all the way north in Thakuling, so it's very far from the city. And we were holed up there for like 2 months because we couldn't come back because of the traffic restrictions. And I mean, for the first few days it was fine because right before lockdown, we were all doing coaching, we were all busy with studies and stuff. It's nice to get a getaway for something. For a few days, it's fine. Then 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 4 weeks, 1 month, 2 months, Ramadan came and went, and just slowly and surely, just 2, 3, 4 months, 5 months, 6 months passed by. I did not meet a single.
Only 6 months? It felt like a year.
No, bro, it wasn't 6 months. Almost a year went by.
Yeah, exactly.
In my case, I spent 6 whole months without visiting a single family member or a friend of mine.
Bro, it was everyone.
Wait, what?
It was everyone. Me too. I met my Nana Nanu after a year.
Exactly, and Amar expensive. I didn't meet anyone for 6 months, and for 6 months, I was literally completely detached and alone from everything. I mean, I did video call my friends occasionally.
Yeah, we did that.
But, it's not the same. It's not the same as actually being hanging out with people. And it makes you feel really lonely. And plus, I was away from the city for a long time, and I really missed it. And I couldn't even come back. It took a long time. 2.5 months. I came back after 2.5 months. I came back to Dhaka, and even after that, I couldn't meet anyone.
No one could.
The first person I met post lockdown was Kashaf. He came over to Bonastri, where I live, and he was like, "Hey, Tanzim, are you home? I'm here. I'm in your area." I'm like, "Yo, you're here. I'm gonna meet you." And you have no idea. It was one of the best days of my life, even though we did literally nothing but just meet. And
yeah, you remember when
I could say he's like jumping around like a little girl in his house when I texted him. I swear to God.
I remember the time when we met for the first time at, I think, whose house? Abrar's, no, not Abrar's. I think Safon or someone.
Well, it doesn't really matter. Go on.
Yeah.
Also, I'm gonna add, my state was so bad. I'll just show you the thing I wrote to my friend. So basically, we're talking. I texted my friend Adwa, did what's up and stuff. I just asked him, "What are you doing?" He told me, "I'm thinking about life." So in reply, I wrote, "What is life that never fails to fuck us up, which never fails us to make us worthless, never fails to make us feel we have no purpose, no achievements, we are blank, pieces of shit and lonely."
That is so dark and bleak. I honestly do not know what to say.
I love it.
So you can understand my state at that point. I also wrote one more thing. The biggest reality check of life is when you realize disappointment is becoming a habit, just like eating and breathing.
Oh, I mean, honestly.
So you could understand how bad it was.
Going for like a marshmallow-looking fellow like you, definitely.
Bro, like as Tanzim knows me, I think since grade 5, I was like always very active everywhere. So be it social media, everywhere. I completely disappeared for 3 to 4 months. I was nowhere to be seen.
Oh yeah, you did tell me like, hey, I just realized something. Where's Nihal? Like you texted me.
It's like time just went by, and I was completely distracted and detached from everything, and it was
everyone lost connection. But the thing is, that's when true friends, that's when you understand your friends are true or not. For example, when I texted Tanzim after a few months, the first thing he didn't ask where were you or anything. He just asked, "Bro, tell me, how are you? Are you good?"
Yeah, I was legitimately concerned. And look, we're talking about friends and all, us having each other's backs. What about those who don't have friends? What about
Exactly.
those who didn't have any lives? Most of these people were people who didn't have any.
Think of those who lived alone in Dhaka city when everyone shifted back to their villages.
Imagine a situation, bachelor Dhaka, where people live in a different place with their friends and stuff. Maybe
Oh yeah, like when they rent, with their roommates.
Yeah, exactly. There were people, students who alone got stuck. They couldn't go. Alone in a house for months after months. You see nothing but your fucking wall in front of you or the fan that's on top of your head.
And worse, they had to deal with the consequences. They were routinely reminded that if they went out, they could, possibly die.
Exactly.
Moreover, a lot of these people even lost their jobs in COVID.
Yeah, and the financial strain, it was actually really awful. Like a lot of people who had recently become middle class, they were shifted back into poverty. and poverty rates in like Bangladesh just rose. And it's sad because over the last 10 years, we had actually made great strides to reduce
Very
poverty. Yeah, and in the span of a few months, it all went back.
Exactly. The simplest way to say it is, if in the last few years we went 10 steps ahead, this COVID pushed us 100 steps back.
Yeah, I have to agree. And
I can actually tell a sad thing that I saw, like right around like last year, fall season, like August, September. I went outside with my mother. Okay, it was still lockdown, so I had to go to the grocery store to like get some groceries there, quick, and come back. Okay, on the way, I have never seen so many people out there begging.
Yeah, I noticed
there
that
was
as
not
well.
even there was like a handful of people who went to go for groceries. The rest were just beggars, and the streets were crowded.
Yeah.
If one person was giving cash, the rest ran to them.
Yeah, and that just
And it
shows
still
the
persists in that
desperation.
area. It still persists, and it's not just
Yeah.
old people and like middle-aged people.
Also
Like
lots of children, lots of
Yeah.
malnourished children. We'll see.
A lot of malnourished children who are like half or like 1/3 of our age.
Bro, I'm gonna say this, like,
Could you speak louder?
oh yeah,
cannot
I was
hear you.
sorry. Like, after when the lockdown was ending, my mom, she went out to the market to get some necessity things. So she went to the shop to buy this dress for my younger cousin. So the guy said, when she asked for the price, the guy's like, "Jay, give me anything you want, because I haven't have any sales since like 1 year. Just give
In
me
an
that."
entire year.
Yeah, because all the markets were closed.
Oh yeah, the markets were closed for a long time.
You know what's the worst feeling in the world? When when a father, like any man, I would say, even a woman as well, when you sit and you see your children going to bed because of without food in their plates, and you can't do anything about it.
I mean,
Nothing. That's when the mental health hits you the most. That's when this issue increases the most. Your children are going to bed without any food, and you can't do anything about it.
yeah, that is true, and it was true for a lot of people, especially during the lockdown.
See, our issue, we understand. Ours, we don't provide to anyone. We don't do anything. Our issue is different. But this issue, I think, is much more stronger than the depression that we have. And it's much more, how do I put this?
It hits home.
Yeah.
Okay, so Rafa, do you have anything to say? Do you have anything to add?
Yeah, so basically, I've listened to each and every one of you. Yeah, so basically, I kind of agree to you guys because during the lockdown in Bangladesh, even I had to go through issues related to my mental health.
You actually got COVID.
Yeah, I got COVID. I got COVID, and that too, I was suffering from mental health during the first few months of lockdown because as humans, we are social beings, and 1 month of seclusion from society is okay, but months after months of not engaging into any activities, it takes a toll on you. And as you all know that I do MUNs, and it's a part of me that I like interacting with people, engaging in dialogue.
You're very social. You have always been that.
So for me, not being able to interact with people was a big thing. Fortunately enough, my family members were quite supportive. When they got to know that I was suffering, they recommended me to a therapist, and I went to one, took his advice and implemented it. It was tough at first because, like, as we were talking about that, we shifted to online classes. I was losing motivation to study. That was affecting my grades, adding to my depression. Overall, the entire bubble was getting into me, and at times I wouldn't lie, I was also I kind of thought about doing something once or twice, like here and there,
drastic.
It was taking a toll on me.
Self-harm, he means.
Yeah, self-harm, what if I just jumped off this balcony? It's gonna end right now. Those thoughts coming in, and now I was kind of relating that the guys are talking about suicide. I was almost about to commit it. What if it ends right now? Those feelings are kind of like symptoms, like they're warnings that you might get into that mindset that you may commit suicide, but you need to acknowledge and react as soon as possible after they start coming in. You should not ignore it. That is my message to the audience, that right when you get like a minor hint that you are getting into that mindset, just tell your parents about it. If they don't understand, try and make them understand, or if they do not understand at all, please go to a therapist. It might sound very,
or just go to your friend.
Therapists are really expensive, and a lot of people just don't have access to it.
Take help from anyone. You just tell anyone about it.
Yeah, Nihal?
Yeah, one thing what happened is, I think this last year's end, like 2020 ending, when it was the ending, this guy who was a psychiatrist, he came up with this thing on Facebook. He posted to help the people who are actually suffering from mental health, and the best part was he was doing it for free. I think he conducted 3 or maybe quite a few sessions and talked about mental health, and how to help, and how it's affecting you. Like in general, like one-to-one. It wasn't one-to-one. It was basically a live session or something like that. He did just to explain people how badly it was becoming, and how bad it is, and how you can help yourself. And what are the things that a person can do when you're not being able to go to a specialist.
Yeah, and the sad thing is that Bangladesh doesn't have an official suicide helpline. It has like a few organizations, but it doesn't have an official
government.
No.
In most of the cases, guys, we see that the people suffering do not reach out to their parents, because as we talked about before, that most of the parents don't consider it to be a problem. Like they simply ignore the.
They're pretty inconsiderate.
For instance, a child overeating or not eating at all, losing motivation, they're just going to blame you that you're doing bad in studies, your grades are not coming out good. But why isn't it coming out good? They don't focus on the problem, the root cause to it.
There are symptoms that the child shows.
There are major symptoms like overeating, not eating at all.
Overeating, undereating, sleeping more, or not sleeping at all.
These are all symptoms of anxiety. And if anxiety continues to take over your mental health, like over time, you're going to slightly shift towards the suicide tendency. Like you may or may not want to commit suicide, because anxiety and depression over a prolonged period of time depends on the individual, how strong you are mentally, but it will get into your head.
So Kashav, you're raising your hand and you're trying to say something.
Okay, so as we said, like seek out a consultant, seek out someone who can help you. Professional help, right? I won't say this globally or something. I would say in our region specifically. So
underdeveloped regions.
Not underdeveloped, just I don't know about underdeveloped regions. I just know my region
it doesn't matter. Just talk about Bangladesh.
Just finish it.
Yeah. So I'm in Bangladesh. Maybe I have depression, okay? And I want to go out and seek professional help. I have the facility for it. I can do it. Problem is that what about the people around me? They're gonna say that, oh, that kid's gone crazy. Oh, that kid's gonna be sent to a mental hospital.
It's like there's a lot of stigma involved.
Like, bruh, at least I'm not like brain dead or something. I have the courage to do this stuff. And this is something that is not talked about amongst the people. Even it took my mom a few months to let her know, okay, people of our age can also go through shit like this. Even though it's not the same as their level, we can also go through, because studies is not something to be taken lightly of. It is what defines our whole career, our whole future.
And I would like to add that in Bangladesh, and also in a lot of underdeveloped countries, either because of financial reasons, a lot of kids dropped out because they couldn't do classes. They couldn't do online classes because they didn't have the necessary technology. And they couldn't afford internet data. Like I remember this case of this old man who basically sold his property, who sold a few personal belongings to get a phone, but then he couldn't afford to pay for the mobile data. And his son couldn't go to school. Go to online classes, that is. So Nihal, you're trying to say something?
Exactly what I want to ask. Have you ever played the game Chinese Whisper?
I have no idea what that is.
You whisper things in someone's ears. Okay, that's the game. So that's what mental health happens. That's how it works. For example, if you have a heart issue, people will boldly say about it, I had the heart issue, I got the heart surgery, I did my open heart transplant. And some will boast about it. But if someone in a family has a mental health issue, don't say it. That's how
they're gonna, basically say, "Oh, what will people think? What will people say?"
Exactly.
And they will think that you're
What I was
crazy.
meaning to say. What will people say?
Exactly.
What do people say? They can go rot in hell for all I care.
They'll be like, oh, these thoughts are, oh, you're going crazy. These are just.
That's the first thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, just Kasha was saying about studies. See, the thing which happened is since the COVID started, everyone had the many different issues. We got to learn a new thing. For example, online classes and stuff. And at that point, the pressure of studies, the feeling of not being able to meet your friends, and there was that, and then comes in the taunt, which you get from your family. For example, what are you going to do in life? You're not studying enough. All day, what you're doing is just sleeping, or you're just lying there, you're eating. What are you doing? That's what I think even made the issue even more serious, the issue of mental health, because that is lowering your self-esteem to zero.
And they're being isolated from their own family, essentially.
You know what, guys, like, our parents tell us what we're doing, but like, why are we doing it? They should think a little bit about it. Like, why? What is happening?
That they don't know of exactly.
They should figure out the mental reasons for it. Like, there are a lot of factors which affect our performance in exams.
Yeah, they're quite visible. At times they're quite visible. Like, okay, that has it.
Yeah.
Bro, if suddenly a person who doesn't eat that much starts eating a lot of food, or a person who eats a lot just starts reducing his appetite, or someone who used to sleep 8 hours a day is now sleeping maybe 16 hours a day, 15 hours a day. These are
or not getting any sleep, which was pretty common with insomnia rates just rising.
I have an example right here of an insomnia. There's Sakil. You're the example right there.
Yeah, honestly, that is true. Like, I honestly could not sleep. Like, if I tried to sleep, I just couldn't sleep. Like,
I want to talk about your feeling. What happened to you, please?
Honestly, it's like I thought that it wouldn't affect me because I'm an introvert. I was like, I don't go out that often anyway. It's like lockdown isn't gonna affect me. But it's like all the outside stress, like stress from studies, and also like stress from like just thinking about the situation, what's happening to our country, that hospitals are being messed up. And also it's like my area, what happened was that because of like a financial recession, there are a lot of people who resorted to stealing from houses, and I suddenly felt insecure and unsafe that, wait, what if something like that happens to me, or in my house? And also it's like constantly thinking about, wait, the thing I'm gonna touch, does it have COVID in it? Like could I get COVID from? It's like, and it's like, and also it's like people in my family, like in my extended family, actually had COVID. And I was like thinking,
what was my condition? I used to sanitize every half an hour or maybe 1 hour without any reason. I'm just sitting
let's be honest, all of us did that at the beginning.
My mom at one point, she's like, you eat this. What are you doing? You don't need to do
it. I didn't sanitize, and as a result, I had COVID. So it's like, I was like the opposite of sanitize. I was too chilled about it. Completely like opposite to Saqib. So I had COVID and I was suffering for like over 2 months. So,
actually, I have a thing to say. We're talking about a lot of things about like our age people, but I'm gonna tell something about like people above our age. So my mom
before you start, I would like to mention a statistic by the University of Cambridge. They found out that in Bangladesh specifically, around 57.9% of adults had depression during the pandemic. 57.9% had depression. 59.7% were suffering from stress from like outside factors, and 33.7% of them had severe anxiety.
I would like to add something to Saqib. Like, not any stat, just a general thing that I believe is true. for example, our age, our friends, we can talk to them about anything, whatever we want. We don't have any filter to say that.
I mean, that's not exactly true for a lot of friendships, to be honest.
Depends.
Okay.
Depends on the quality of your friends.
I'll just make it very obvious. For example, my and Tanvir. He's like my younger brother. Like, that's how we treat each other. Like, we're very, very close. We don't have any filter between us. But think about our parents. Do they have someone like that?
Like, they usually do not. Usually,
they have siblings, but they do have someone. But in most of the cases, siblings
don't even talk with their siblings.
I don't think they can open up. And one thing I'm gonna add is actually, which is very true, I believe, is fathers. They don't speak up at times. They don't. They won't.
Most of them
because they have this dilemma of manlyhood that men have to be strong and need to like take care of the family, so they don't.
The messed up thing is like they had the most stress because of the financial factor, and they had to provide for the family. And it's like, let's say you lose your job, you're thinking, oh no, what's gonna happen to my family?
And I think it's like the fathers, when they go visit, the first tension they had is not that if I'm gonna get COVID or not. I think the first thought that came in their mind was, will I be able to provide food for my family every day and not let them sleep hungry?
And can I protect them?
Exactly. And that fear, imagine living with that fear for 1.5 years every day.
Yes, I would like to include that like adults nowadays, like specifically during the pandemic, companies were not earning as much as revenue as they would before, and they were like lowering the salary or wage paid to their employees, and in many of the companies they were cutting the employees.
A lot of employees lost their jobs.
Yeah, like this is a major reason, Saqib, that I wanted to mention due to increasing anxiety and depression in adults, because when you're, as Nihal mentioned, adults are like specifically men, they think that they're the ones who bring in the bread and butter, and eventually when the wages drop or there's like this unwanted risk of being potentially fired because the company's not doing well, it kind of takes a toll on you and causes anxiety and depression. So yeah, Nihal.
For example, what I add is a lot of companies even started, like, they didn't even pay the workers, but they made them work.
Yeah, because they didn't have revenue.
Yeah.
They were not doing as well as them.
So the companies were thinking, I'm making them work, I'm getting my money, I don't care about the other workers.
Yeah, and it's like, that messed it up even worse because it's like they're working, but they're not getting paid. So there's a lot of anger and resentment.
Yeah, there were protests about regarding this by our garment workers too. And
some of these protests actually became violent.
Yeah, because obviously when you're not being paid the wage, and you know that you won't be able to bring back food to your family, it's going to make you do violent things if you're not listened at. So yeah, it's pretty obvious.
Kashyap, before I interrupted you, you were saying something regarding your mother or something.
Yeah, so basically what happened was like at the midst of 2020, like during lockdowns and all, my mother and I got COVID. I was going out and working, and I somehow got COVID into the home. Okay, that's about it. We didn't have as much drastic symptoms as much. Like the most that I got was like my sense of smell and taste just went away, and like I had like a mild fever for like a few days. My mother also had my mother had like a similar situation, but both of us like kind of suffered like breathing issues. Like we lost a lot of stamina, but that's the least symptoms we went through.
The best case scenario.
Best case scenario. But the problem here is that my family members ditched on us.
They abandoned you guys.
For 6 months. And it's not like they live far away, they can come visit us.
They also live in Bochondora.
They live in the same area I live in. Like down the block. They're there.
Yeah.
And they couldn't
basically
even
add something here where so basically when you are suffering from COVID, people wouldn't want to get near you.
No, so not at all.
I'll just add to that.
Get in touch with you, like they didn't even call or something.
No,
that's a different.
Like a single
physically no, but you could keep in touch to get to know how they're doing.
They didn't even bother to call. Like
my sister who lives abroad, she's like stressed out, which she should. My mom's stressed out because she has to like feed first because she's like a single parent. She works as well, and I'm out here. I'm like
you work as well.
Ass out for studying as well.
Yeah,
So
Kashyap also works a lot.
yeah, I also work too, and it's just like a whole can of worms at this point. Like just stress upon anxiety upon depression, just tolls on you. And at that point, I was like, why? What am I even doing here?
I
You,
get
Like,
that.
you
why?
lost your purpose.
When I had COVID, so like first time in our family, in our home, COVID happened in two stages. First time I had it, my father, my brother, and my chachi had it. So in mornings I couldn't sleep. Why is that? Because my dad kept on getting calls from my relatives. Like everyone was checking on us. My nana literally called my mom and said, "I don't know what happens. I'm coming to see us and my father." He was literally coming in that situation when COVID was at its peak just to see. My mom was like, "No, you can't come. It's COVID. They have COVID." Because I don't know even if I have it or not. If you come, you're gonna get sick. So please don't.
Yeah, that's how
So
it
if
goes.
you get that moral support from the family in this situation, that actually makes you happier and helps your mental state get stable. But in Kashyap's case, that was not the case. It
I
literally
was the one who had to like keep my mom from like breaking down.
Yeah.
On
Kashyap,
like while me being on the verge of like breaking down as well. Like,
That's a
it's a
huge
weird
responsibility for a
exactly.
teenager.
So one thing I like to add is this guy Kashyap. I think he's mentally the strongest amongst us all.
I agree.
Imagine if it's, no,
I agree.
I'm just gonna say like the best example that I can give is that you are sinking already, and yet you're trying to save the person who's next to you. That was his doing. He himself was sinking, but yet he was trying to save his mom.
Yeah, he's an amazing person.
He might be emotionally dumb, but he's way mature than us.
Yeah.
And another thing I want to point out is that
Actually dumb.
when I also had COVID, I also like after COVID, like after I got done with COVID, I had to like get a surgery done on my appendix. It blew out.
Wait, directly after.
Yep.
That's just awful,
You
though.
had appendicitis, I remember.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I remember he disappeared from the online classes.
Yeah, I was
Oh, right.
yeah, you guys know of it. So basically, COVID ended. Okay, I'm like, okay, mom and I are chilling. But one day I was like, my tum tum hurts.
Bro, no.
Like 2 days later, I have to like, it's an imminent surgery. I need to cut it out because it's infecting inside of me. I don't know
Yeah,
how.
because if you don't
I
cut
did
it
not
out,
feel
it's
it for
gonna
like a
spread to
year
the
and a
other
half,
organ.
but it went up to there. So here again, my family members aren't calling. They aren't coming to visit. They're like calling someone, but they're not coming to visit. And my
Bro, no
mom
offense.
and
Your
my
family
mom-
members.
Now no
I
one
know
would.
they're kind of shit, but they were calling at least. But my mom's alone in the hospital outside this operation ward, and I'm in there. She like when I went into like when they were taking me into there, she was crying her eyes out. There was no one beside her to like at least hold her or something.
She's all alone.
I just smiled at her and said like, why are you crying? It's just a typical surgery. Everyone gets it once in their lifetime, right?
No,
I
And I just walked right in.
no,
Yeah, it's pretty understandable. Because you lost your dad and she's all like you're all she got. So it's
Yeah.
like pretty of
Moms are just really protective of their kids
And I
in
understood her.
general.
Yeah, and also like she was also extremely stressed because of the situation. So
And
yeah.
no matter like what I went through, I tried to give her as less of a pain as possible, even though I wasn't like nearly had like my stomach cut out from me. It was that bad.
yeah, that led to depression and anxiety.
Yeah, like when my mom had COVID, my dadu had it too. So both of them had to be hospitalized. It was very severe. So my father, he didn't come back. He went to the hospital and stayed there with them in that situation. And at home, it was me, my uncle, my younger brother, and everyone. And then my uncle, he had his duties in the hospital, so he also left. It is just three of us. And one day, my fupi, she calls me and she says, "Jay, Nihal, your mom is not very well, not at all well. Just cry and pray for her." So imagine my situation, me being alone with a younger brother at home, and I don't know how to react.
I understand where you're coming from.
No one to support at that point. But I was stuck. I didn't know how to react.
Actually, kind of reminds me of like my mom's friend. He was like within like he's also a doctor, like my mom's friend's husband. He's a doctor, and she also had her nephew at her place. Both of them had COVID, like her husband and her nephew. Both of them died simultaneously.
At the same time.
And also, not even that, her mother-in-law also died the week before.
Oh my God.
Simultaneously, 3 people died in the same house. They could.
So the husband's own mother, his wife, and his child. He lost 3 of these.
No, not his wife. Himself.
The husband had COVID.
The wife lost her husband, her nephew, and her mother-in-law
at the same time, simultaneously.
Yeah.
All of them just died.
There were reports, a doctor and his wife, both of them are doctors, treating COVID, and the wife got sick or the husband got sick, and one of them died, and the husband was treating her or the wife was treating him. Imagine that situation.
But losing 3 people in the same month, what does that do to you mentally?
Bro, same week.
Same week.
Like same 2 weeks exactly.
Guys, I've literally heard stories about entire families being wiped out. So it's like,
I read this one article a few months back of this guy of our age. He lost his mother, father, sister.
His entire family at once.
At the same time. His grandmother didn't even survive that.
I have also a story. There was this guy whose mom, dad, and I think younger sister or brother got admitted in the hospital, and the mom passed away. So Marke got buried, janaja, he performed the janaja and he returned to the hospital, and then he hears his brother passed away.
Wait, directly afterwards.
He just finished the janaja and he just returned, and he got to know that.
And then he had to mentally prepare for another janaza. So it's
another funeral. That's true for a lot of people, like a lot of families and even communities were wiped out.
Bro, imagine even a worse situation when a father has to carry the body of his young child. Imagine
his baby.
Of his baby, carrying the child on his shoulder and burying him.
That will traumatize him for life, and it's like a lot of people who lost their relatives during the pandemic, they're traumatized for life.
Okay.
They're gonna remember this constantly.
Yeah, so in February of 2020, just before lockdown, I lost my grandmother. She died of old age. She didn't have COVID, thankfully. And it was February, so it hadn't entered Bangladesh yet. And I buried her myself back. That was February of 2020. And we buried her in Bonani graveyard. And at the time, the graveyard where we buried her was half filled. There were a lot of lanes. Basically half the cemetery was still empty. Fast forward. When was it? March or April of 2021. Okay. I go to the graveyard and I see where I buried my nanu. It became so crowded. The cemetery was so crowded. I had a hard time finding her grave.
You could imagine the mortality rate increase.
Yeah, actually, you know what's depressing? It's I live in that area and I'm a part of the society. So it's I constantly got text messages that this person died, on a daily basis.
Bro, every day from the mosque I heard announcements. Every day.
Yeah,
at least one.
Every day. Honestly, it's it was just so depressing. I was thinking, oh shit, I could beat that text someday.
All of this.
Exactly. Imagine a situation where you're hearing about deaths every day and you have that feeling, Jay. Oh my God, I could be next. I could be next, living with that feeling for a year every day.
And it's still going on. It's not like right now.
Exactly.
You know of the typical apocalyptic scenarios, right?
Yeah.
Whole
which
areas
we went
desolate.
through. We went
areas
through.
Desolate. Not even a single person on the road. Yeah.
Can I say some of the quotes that I wrote during that time?
Sure.
Yeah, go on.
Just to explain my mental health, I'll just read to you some of the quotes that I wrote during that time. One of them was which one? Sadness and depression are like darkness. It does fade away, but it never fails to return.
You should become you should have your own
Okay,
Handle of quotes.
There are more.
Yeah, go on.
Happy people say that life is too short to be sad. But for the people who are sad and depressed, even this short period seems like a lifetime.
I
Come on,
mean,
like that.
honestly,
Everyone of us can relate.
You're getting into my heart right now. You're making me cry.
honestly, your words are so fucking accurate for a lot of people, and it's so relatable. Like,
Listen, this podcast about mental health is gonna leave people more depressed.
Okay, there was one more that I wrote.
yeah,
Darkness is something which gets fear. But the condition gets even worse when the older ones start to fear the light.
Guys, you're seeing me with a balish because of Nihal's dark quotes.
And
Okay, continue,
last one. Okay, this is the last. I won't say any more. If staying alive meant breathing, then depression would have been a myth.
So that's a bit little less darker than the other ones.
I mean, honestly, it's like I also felt like that for a huge
I had
stretch
a few
because
more, but if I read them out, I think it's gonna be very worse.
Okay, you know what? It's enough. Okay, so it's like I also felt like that because normally, just in general, I'm a really productive person. I do a lot just every day, and it's like in the pandemic, I just lost all of it, and it's like I just felt like I'm not doing anything. I'm basically wasting this year. And I'm never gonna get it back. And it's like the thing about it is like I basically reflected on my life for the past 5 years. So it's like everything that happened, like it was going through my head and it was like filled with regrets. Like I could have done this, I should have done that. And
Exactly. It just flow through your head.
Yeah, it just starts to resurface. And it's like really intrusive, you know. It's like there's nothing to distract you because
Like
it's
a
like,
Trojan horse, you know?
yeah, and it's like a huge stretches of time from that period are just blank. Like I don't remember shit.
It reminds me of me in the first 5-6 months of doing online classes. Even now it's still there, but it's a bit, it's improved a little. But I remember waking up, half asleep, jumping into class and just staring at the screen blank. I remember I almost broke down after class once because I was having so much trouble understanding. I was having headaches. I was literally on the verge of a breakdown after class. I closed my laptop, I just went to my room, buried my head in my pillow. It was that.
So there was a time like after I was in a better state. Every day I used to text Tanzim, Ajwat, every of my friends that I had, just to know if they're okay. Because during that time I was hearing a lot of news of suicides, and it was affecting me too. So asking them also gave me the assurance, okay, that they're okay, and I can talk to them about my situation as well. It was a both way thing. So keeping a check.
One of my own friends almost did too. She was constantly telling me that she was she was also constantly telling me about. I'm sorry, this might be a bit explicit, but she was also constantly telling me that she has the urge to self-harm and even did it a few times. I did everything I can. I even tried calling her up and, texting her as many, wholesome quotes and, happy stuff that I could. Thankfully, she's alive and well now, but, I just said this to highlight the situation people were in. And although it might be a bit repetitive, but it's just true. Like, especially after the pandemic, it was, the entire world, it was in chaos. It still is. And although
I mean, it has improved considerably. Like online classes are almost ending. We're back to school. Like it's like, although I lost like my final year of my A levels, which is like 12th grade. I'm back at university, and it's like,
bro.
Yeah.
I never had to. At this point, we can say the world has learned to smile again.
Sort of, but like.
But for how long? That is the question.
Okay.
Yeah.
For how long?
Let's not dwell on that, but let's dwell on the positive.
As we talk about mental health, we must be prepared.
I mean, even then, it's like for a lot of people, it was actually not as bad. For example, personally, I got to spend a lot of time with my family. My sister, who normally lives in Canada, she's studying in Canada, came back. So I got to spend a lot of time with her, and I also got a pet. And so it had positives, and it's like, for a lot of people, they got to spend a lot of time with their family, and it's like there are positives involved.
Those are all.
And they got
one more thing I would like to add for the mental state part. For example, during the normal life, we had some sorts of entertainment. For example, maybe we watch a new series or a new movie that was coming out, or even sports for many people. But in the lockdown, that's stopped. No new series, no football games, no cricket games, no nothing, no sports or no entertainment sources. That was also a big issue.
I would like to say I would like to say that when football came back on, I'm a Barcelona fan, and watching us get destroyed by Bayern Munich was awful.
Oh my God!
It returned. That's
We're coming back for you.
When football returned, it at least gave people a new hope. Okay, things are actually getting back to normal slowly but steadily. So
yeah, and also it's like 2021. At least for me, it hasn't been bad. Honestly, it's been a great year.
I'm not gonna say.
Honestly, it was a great year for me, and it's like it just goes on to show that even from the lowest point of your life, things can improve. Like back in 2020, I couldn't have predicted that 2021 was going to be this great.
Exactly.
So it's like there is hope.
The best thing about rock bottom is that you can't go any lower. The only way is up. So if you're at rock bottom, then you just know that life can only get better from here. Okay,
and one thing is that I was lucky enough in this situation. I did not lose any close family members. So that was a very good relief for me, at least.
Yeah, and also I would like to say that I know for a lot of people it is still awful. Just know that there is hope and that things can improve. Like with all of us, like back in 2020, we couldn't have predicted that we would start a podcast which people would actually listen to and watch.
That is a surprise on itself.
And to be honest, guys, this podcast is kind of helped our mental health.
Bucket list.
Yeah, like this podcast.
Everyone also gonna think I'm very sad and stuff. So just a happy quote that that I have written is: see, reality might not be as magical as you expect or your imagination, but coping up with the reality actually makes you the perfect man or a woman.
That is why we are here, guys. That is why we are here.
Guys, if you think Nihal is depressed, just think of him as SpongeBob, always smiling.
Exactly.
Also, one last thing, I would like to say that if you're depressed or if you're suffering from a mental disorder, just get help. I honestly don't give a fuck what anyone else thinks. It doesn't matter. Just get help. There are people who are willing to help. And
if you can even talk to us. Any way we can, we'll try to help. You can talk to us about
no matter who we are to you, seniors or juniors.
Feel free to DM, guys.
Exactly.
Yeah, you guys can contact us.
Yeah, and everything will be kept confidential. Nothing is gonna get out. No one will even know.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I would like to add that I'm actually a great unpaid therapist. So it's like if anyone wants to get me out, get me out.
Look, I have my patient right here in this podcast, Tanzim.
And I have my own patient, Rafa, my best friend.
Yeah, guys, I'm kind of assuring you that Saqib is a very good therapist because I've myself been to him for advice. So it's like, he tells you the truth. He holds up your mistakes. He won't lie to you. That is the great thing he has. So he's a great therapist overall.
So just before that, I would like to say, if anyone has any problems, just hit us up. We will listen to everything.
Doesn't matter you hit us on the What's Wrong page. You can even hit us on our personal Instagram ID, Facebook.
I'll link it. I will link
anywhere.
it.
Just
everything.
Don't give up on life. Try not to kill yourself because if you just hold on, you'll find that there is a life worth living. There is a purpose. That's why you're alive.
Always remember, doesn't matter how dark it gets, the ray of the sun will always reach you.
Yeah, and who knows? Maybe next year could be amazing. Which happened to me.
Let me say it in
metaphorical terms.
So look at me, from writing those dark books, I'm trying to write some happy ones. So, and I'm here with these people on the podcast. So improvement can come anytime. Just keep on moving on slowly and steadily. Everything will be okay. That's the biggest lesson of life.
Let me
So,
give my
Kashav,
best
you want to
quote of
add
the day.
this?
Let me give my best quote of the day. It doesn't get shittier than this, okay? Just keep saying this. It'll get you through the worst of the worst. Okay?
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay, so that's all for today. Until next week. Goodbye.
Sayonara.